welcome everyone. We are streaming live on irietimes.com, and so sometimes you'll hear me talking and I won't necessarily be talking to who is here. I'll be talking to the people who are all over the world. irietimes.com reaches people in 70-something countries except Antarctica. So, and there at least most times 15-20,000 people who are listening. So we want to say a big hello from Jamaica/Antarctica. We want to welcome you on the stream. We're gonna get started very soon. We're showing you some of the pictures. We're gonna have a great time here. You'll get to see the film, meet the author, which is me, and have a good time. So stand by. We're coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica, the National Library. The National Library, where all the archives are kept, the records are kept, wonderful staff, wonderful people down here at the National Library. I'm told I must go and walk around. So I'm going to walk around. And I have with me Sherna from Jamaica Youth for Christ. Jamaica Youth for Christ is one of my backbones, you know. And we have friends who are here. People are gathering slowly. Mr. Malachi Smith is in the house. Mr. Malachi Smith. Mr. Mina Blackwood Meeks is in the house. We have got from the Argentinian embassy. They're in the house. Of course, Miss Beverly Lashley, the National Librarian, is in the house. We have a great poet, Christine, who is in the house. We have quite a few people who are coming in. It is Jamaica, so of course, you know, people are trickling in, and it is a little difficult to find parking, so they are trickling in. But thank you for joining us on the stream. We see Chantal running around. She has been a tower of strength. We do have people outside who are, let me take a little walk outside the door and show you, I think Michael is out here, show you that there are people out here who are looking at the exhibits, enjoying the pictures, and we have quite a lot going on out here. So thank you for joining us there on the World Wide Web. Vanessa, who is going to be your host this evening, is on her way, and it's going to be a wonderful evening. It's going to be a beautiful evening. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm Judith Falloon-Reid. I'm the author. In this case, the photographer. It's not my profession, but I am the author. I am the filmmaker for Aaah-Inspiring Antarctica. I'm a Jamaican on ice. Stay tuned.
Good evening, I'm Malachi Smith. I'm Malachi Smith, and we're here at the National Library of Jamaica for a wonderful evening. We'll be having a double book launch by Judith Falloon-Reid, a documentary, and it's focusing on the awe-inspiring trip that she took to down under to the fifth largest continent on the planet, Antarctica, in 2007. It is even more important now that an exhibition and book about this continent is being launched. When you think about global warming and the context of today, Antarctica has 80% of the natural water of the planet. Most people don't know that. For over 200 years, it has not rained in Antarctica, and it makes it even more important. So we're going to have a wonderful evening of launching 2 books, a documentary, in addition to a talk by the author, some poetry reading, and of course the event is being sponsored by Grace, with Cinco Student Day and the National Library of Jamaica. We're here for an awe-inspiring journey. Before I tell you more about that, I just want to acknowledge some. I know you're all VIP and celebrities, but there are a few people here. We have Mr. Patricia Urenia Palacio, the Deputy Head of Mission for the Argentinian Embassy. Could we acknowledge him, please? We have Dr. Amina Blackwood Meeks, historian griot. Mrs. Beverly Lashley, our National Librarian. We have Miss Dulari Hopkins from JNC, UNESCO. Ms. Carol Newman, the General Manager for Jam Copy. I want to say all protocol observed for those who I missed. You know, years ago, I came down here to apply for a job. And so I had on this very nice suit and thing and Chris shoes, and on my way to the facility, one of the shoe bottom came loose. So I'm saying, oh my God, how am I going to make out with this? So I look and I say, Amina. And I say, Amina, but I'm in trouble. I have this interview and look at my shoes. And she said, don't worry yourself, man. So she reached in her handbag, came out with a wad of cash, with a rubber band around it, man. And I feel good now. She should give me some money to go buy shoes real quick. She just stick off the rubber band and say, hold that, it will work. You know, Jamaicans have excelled in so many fields and so many areas. And for so many of you probably don't even know that, like the US city Dallas was actually a man from Dallas in St. Andrew that lived there, and that whole city ended up being named Dallas after him. A lot of people don't even know that. You know, we are the fastest sprinters in the world. We have the Usain Bolt, the Asafa Powell. Before we had the Howard McKinley, Shelley Ann Fraser, the fastest woman in the world. And we had Newville before, and Marlene Atty, and all of that. And we excelled in cricket, and intellectually we have Pan-Africanism. We have the Marcus Garveys, music, the Bob Marleys, and the Peter Tosh, and the Jimmy Cliffs. And it goes on and on and on. So we are a lot of firsts. But I don't believe I've ever heard of any Jamaican exploring Antarctica. And we actually have the first year of, you know, according to my knowledge, that the first woman I'm hearing now, so I don't know if a man went, who has actually toured the 5th largest continent in the world. Can we give her a round of applause, please, and ask her to stand, be recognized? You know. So she's a heroine like Nanny in her own right, and Miss Lou, exploring and pushing frontiers. And she went all the way down to Antarctica. And just to tell you a little about Antarctica, we know it's the southernmost continent, right? But do you know that for over 2 million years it has not rained in Antarctica? And it has 80% of the natural water of the world. Isn't that something? But on Sunday, I actually read an article in the Miami Herald where it experienced record high, like 65 degrees. Now, this is a continent that averages minus 89.2 Celsius, 128.6 degrees Fahrenheit. So you realize that global warming is real. When I was a little boy, I grew up in St. Catherine, Central Village. And my dad is from Treasure Beach, and I remember we used to go down there and bathe in the sea down there in Billis Bay. And there was a house with a tomb somewhere up there. If you were to walk on that beach now, that tomb is actually in the sand on the seaside. That's how real global warming is. So it is not a joke, it's not a hoax. And that's why the work of Judith Falloon-Reid is even more important. We're going to invite the Reverend Dexter Johnson from the National Director Youth for Christ to offer a blessing at this time.
Thank you so much. Let's just bow in prayer. Almighty God, we are grateful to you for your goodness to us. And we thank you that when we were created, Lord, with all the possibilities and to do so many, many things, none of us truly knew what our journey would be. But we are grateful today that, Lord, we can come to celebrate with Judith upon this tremendous milestone in making the difference. Yet another Jamaican woman that is shining, that is putting her footprints, and not only her footprints, but her very hands all over as she continued to pen and part her own account and give a good history and tremendous reporting. We are grateful that we are here today. As we come to celebrate, Lord, we ask for your blessings upon this afternoon, and that you'll be with us. And Lord, may we leave here inspired that greatness is in all of us. May we always be reminded that we're a small nation, just a little dot on the map, but we're little. But with Talawa, we thank you for your goodness. Thank you for blessing. Thank you for giving us inspiration and insight. And may you bless all that we do today. And bless us, God, so we live in 2020 to do greatness for you and for this nation. In your name we pray.
Thank you so much, Reverend Johnson. We also want to acknowledge our sponsors. We have Grace, Wisinko Student Day, and of course the National Library of Jamaica. And the event is being streamed live on iriatimes.com. Thank you, Dreamy, for all you do for us. We'll now have greetings from Ms. Beverly Lashley, a National Librarian of Jamaica. Welcome her, please.
Good evening, everyone. I want to really welcome, I know the MC welcomed you all, but I want to give you all a special welcome, especially those who have been to the National Library for the very first time. Mr. MC, thank you, sir. I'm going to acknowledge you, as well as our author, Judith Falloon-Reid. Without her writing all these books, having this documentary, and this lovely exhibition, we wouldn't all be here today. We also have in our presence the Deputy Head of Mission, Senor Palacio. I wanted to say that, Senor Palacio. We have Reverend Dexter Johnson, who just did our prayer, from the National Director from the Jamaica Youth for Christ. You were also introduced to Ms. Carol Newman, the General Manager of the Copyright Licensing Agency, Jam Copy we know it as. I'm recognizing Mr. Michael Brown, and he knows who he is, as well as my hard-working staff from the National Library of Jamaica. Team NLJ, I did nothing. I just came down about 20 minutes to. They all did everything. Lovely team. If you can dream and not make dream your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. Now we all know that excerpt from Rudyard Kipling's If. And Judith, she had a dream. She had a dream growing up in Harborview that one day she would go to the Antarctica. And today, she will actually share this journey of this exotic destination. Since most of us here today may never visit Antarctica in person, we're privileged to witness the journey on ice in print, in film, and through this lovely exhibition that is here at the National Library, as well as glean through our presentation. Judith, the NLJ welcomes you and your team, and we are pleased to provide a space for Jamaicans who want to showcase their talents and their creative outputs and keep our culture and our history alive. The National Library of Jamaica is a place to explore, discover, and connect to a global network of information and individuals. Judith Falloon-Reid, she has added her unique experience and knowledge to this network. So I'm inviting those of you who are visiting the NLJ for the first time to consider the contribution that you can make to this growing body of knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lashley. And now we're going to have a poem, a poetry reading by Mrs. Christine Neal Wright. Christine Neal Wright, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Having spoken to Mrs. Reid, having spoken to Judith for an interview, I was so impressed with what she said doing the talking points, and I said, no man, I have to write something. And I wrote this poem, and it's called Beyond Our Wildest Dreams. As I listened to her story on frozen water, surrounded by mountains of icebergs above and beneath, this brave and costly expedition to be or not to be beyond our wildest dreams was held with much heart, passion, and respect, knowing the risks were clear. To experience firsthand the final frontier. From a physical perspective, being there, you would understand scenes of life and death with happy feet having no joy in a space deliberately deflowered by man, resulting in this legacy of eminent and progressive turmoil in Mother Nature, adversely affecting the inhabitants on every single land. Her eyes have seen it, penguins, whales, fishes, and seals crying out, oh, 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 what can you do to save us or change this mystery progressing too furious and too fast? How much longer will the upset of this planet's equilibrium last? That must be the whale. Her passion and mission today displays the proof of her experience and the ills of our unhealthy ways. Listen keenly, take notes, and begin to plant good seed. Be an Earth ambassador with Judith Falloon-Reid. Thank you.
Incredible. Give it up for her. Now she made me get jealous as the poet, right? So with Mr. Brown's permission, I'm going to say a little poem for Judith. And when I started the Jamaican Poet School Tour 3 years ago, Judith was like, Malaka, what a wonderful idea. So the second year she jumped on board, and what a support. Fantastic, phenomenal woman, right? Got her heart into it, her teeth into it, and just about everything that you could ask of her as a friend, she did it, you know, so I'm honored. So I just want to do a little poem, and with Mr. Brown's permission. And the title of the poem is How You Make Our Master God, which is a conversation that I had with God about, say Judith. Went down a yard without a plan. just taking a break from a situation. Had no conceived intention until a royal rose apple forced my hand. Her Royal Highness firm in her Nubian skin, standing in her rosemary bush garden, gleaming whole in the sun in her hair, her glory shining everywhere. Like an African rainbow caressing a mountain peak. Had to rise to the occasion before I speak. How you make her master God? For this visitation, I am glad. And nothing Megan Vanilla Master God reveal her secrets. I want her bad. I go and paint her across the sky. Right below Master God, I for protection night and day. Keep the predators at bay. How you make her Master God? What you put in her Master God? She had all of Queen Isis' secrets. Athena couldn't match her wits, dazzling me with her magic wand. Wonder should I dip or should I stand? She calculated me before I spoke, said her love was no joke, won't compete with anyone if you are taken. Move along, try to walk away, but my heart wasn't leaving. Put my foot in a gear and my heart started seizing. Your Highness, I proposed, strip me of my fleshy robes, dip me in your mineral springs, wash away my transgressions and sins, close the door, lock the window. I am committing to you forever. Let me glow like the banks of the Zambezi. Nubian princess, never leave me. Comes what may I do. She said, take my hand, I feel the same way too. I go and paint her across the sky, right below Master God. I, for protection night and day, keep the predators at bay. How you make her Master God? What you put in her Master God? And not Megan Vanilla, me no know. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, will you help me welcome a woman that's doing phenomenal work for authors at Jam Copy, none other than Ms. Carol Newman.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a hard act to follow Malachi, you see, so he was trying to give me a little space, some breathing space, so you could recover from that before hearing me, because I can't go near that. Senor Palacio, Deputy Head of Mission at the Argentinian Embassy, my fellow writers, creatives, readers, visitors, persons who have all come to support Judith in this awe-inspiring moment. Good evening, or good afternoon. Yes, still not 3 o'clock yet. Good afternoon. It is a real pleasure of mine to be here this afternoon to share in this wonderful occasion with one of my authors, Judith Falloon-Reid. Judith for Jam Copy is a very special person. Not only is she a writer and an award-winning playwright, but she is a fantastic facilitator, and she does an awesome workshop, and we have partnered in that on some occasions, helping our creatives along and learning about self-publishing. And so we've partnered with Judith in that regard on at least 2 occasions where she hosted this and facilitated this workshop. So I'm very pleased to share in this occasion. When Judith mentioned this to me last summer and said she had this thing birthing for several years, and she now thought it was time to give birth to it and bring it forward for all of us to enjoy, I said, yes, you have to bring it. So I am very happy to be here. It's to see all the pictures and to see the film and to see all the various iterations of what she's done and experienced. It's a fantastic experience it must have been. So on behalf of Jam Copy, I want to congratulate you, Judith, on this awe-inspiring effort and for bringing this to life for all of us. Some of us have had the great fortune of visiting Argentina, but certainly not going as far south as you have been to experience Antarctica. And many of us will never have that experience. And so we thank you for bringing this here for us. I want to wish you all the best with this project, and I encourage all our writers, all the creatives, all the persons who have these fabulous ideas, bring them to life, give birth to them. And when you've given birth and you've published them, then you come to Jam Copy, and we will help you to do the rest. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
The harshest environment in the world, the frozen continent, a land where strutting penguins and barking seals brave the coldest of winters and screaming katabatic winds. These were the images of Antarctica engraved on my mind, drawn from the nature programs that tell stories of early explorers like Ernest Shackleton, who conquered the white continent. To step on the continent of Antarctica was a dream come true.
Hello, Antarctica! Snowflakes and all.
To walk in the footsteps of legendary scientists, brave the elements like an intrepid explorer, and to catch a glimpse of unique wildlife frolicking between majestic icebergs, that's the stuff of dreams.
Hey Judy, you ready?
Yeah, man, Pedro, where we going?
A cold, cold place.
Oh, me ready. You ready?
Grab your jacket and let's go. Jamaica go everywhere, that you should know. From the heat of the equator to the lands down below. Hop aboard a plane, and here we go to the white continent, the land of ice and snow.
Where the penguins play and the seal them stray, the icebergs tall and the snow will fall. Where the wheel them meet for the grill them eat, the ice floats by and the mountain high. Down in the
When I told my friends and family that I was going to be going to Antarctica, they all asked me almost unanimously why I was traveling so far just to go look at some ice. In fact, several of them invited me to their homes to take a look in their freezers so I could get a first-hand and up-close and personal look at some ice. But I knew it would be so much more than just ice. I'd been the writer and marketing director for the cruise line I was traveling on for several years. And so from research and all the articles I had written, I knew that it was going to be spectacular. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And so I got myself a Nikon camera, bought myself an iPod so that I could have my reggae music with me everywhere I went, got to represent, got myself some nice warm boots and some knee-high water boots so that I could cover those boots when we had to make water landings. And I also got a nice thick fleece jacket, even though I knew I was going to be getting the red expedition parka for the cruise. I was truly, truly ready for the cold. To get there, I flew from Fort Lauderdale to Buenos Aires, business class, courtesy of a free upgrade. And there I spent 5 amazing days speaking Spanglish, soaking up the art and culture, avoiding the street dogs, choking on uncontrolled exhaust fumes, enjoying the parks and eating gelato. I have to tell you though, that the thousands of birds swirling overhead really give a new meaning to the term crapshoot. From there, it was on to Ushuaia, the southernmost city in the world and Argentina. From there, I toured the beautiful Tierra del Fuego National Park, which sits beneath the Patagonian mountains, before I boarded my ship to Antarctica. With great trepidation, I faced the Drake Passage. I'd heard so many horror stories over so many years about the Drake Passage, about 10-foot waves and 15-foot waves and passengers literally turning green just from the bouncing and the up and down. So here's a little known fact about me. I do have motion sickness, but only on land.
I'm fine in the air and I'm fine at sea. I have pretty good sea legs. But just to be sure, I got myself some ginger candy, some ginger pills, some meclizine, some Dramamine, everything I could find. I even got patches just to make sure that crossing the Drake Passage would have been bearable. But I was lucky. The Drake was in a good mood that day. Crossing was smooth, it was easy, and I slept like a baby. Waking up to the stark, sheer beauty of the ice capes all around me, an albatross gliding on the wind, and scores of people peering over the railings to see whales breaching in the distance, man, that was the perfect way to start my trip. Aboard MV Discovery, I was the youngest passenger, and I was also the only passenger of color, which made me kind of stand out and a bit of an enigma, and everyone soon knew that I worked for the cruise line. Many cruise lines claim to go to Antarctica. However, only smaller size expedition boats and cruise ships with strengthened or ice-breaking hulls can truly enter and navigate the vast ice fields that cover the southernmost Antarctic waters. Icebergs, bergy bits, ice floes, and other ice capes make it dangerous to cruise the waters. This is why an ice master was mandatory on the ship that I was on. He's the captain in charge once we enter the ice fields. He's the expert in spotting the icebergs, calculating their size and distance, and ensuring safe passage. More importantly though, small-sized ships with limited passenger loads means that the human footprint and the impact on the continent is so much less than any other regular tourist destination. In 2007, approximately 20,000 people traveled to the continent. In 2019, an estimated 44,000 people visited. When you consider that even relatively small islands like Jamaica received more than 3 million visitors in the same year, you can see why I felt privileged to be among the few to walk in the shoes of great explorers. Our first landing was on Paradise Island at Waterboat Point to be exact, home to a large rookery of Gentoo penguins and a fully operational Chilean Air Force base, which is manned 3 months out of the year. Very strict guidelines are given to those who visit on how to dress and prepare for landings. But the most important lesson we're taught before setting foot on the Zodiac boat that takes us to the land is how to respect the environment and the wildlife we encounter. Zodiac boats take turns ferrying passengers so that very few people are on the land at any one time, lessening the impact even further. We learn that we are in their territory, the animals' territory, and that the penguins have right of way. And penguin police stand at the ready to remove anyone who dares to interfere with the wildlife.
A rare thing. There are 3 not completely albino penguins, Gentoo penguins that they found here. And he's right down here. You notice his black feathers didn't come in. He's right there, but he's got the right colored beak and the right color eyes. So Peter Carey tells me he's not a true albino.
We are taught to take nothing but memories and leave nothing but footprints. We also learn that penguin poop is pink from the krill they eat, and it stinks to the high heavens. You smell it long before you see it. So our shoes are scrubbed clean before leaving the island to prevent any foreign matter from getting on board. The wildlife is everywhere. Minke and humpback whales, they patrol the ocean. Skua gulls and albatross soar overhead. The penguins strut their stuff, and even the cormorants are running up and down steps.
He seems to be doing his morning exercise.
But I have to tell you how much I loved the seals. At Hope Bay, I got my fill of watching seals in all their glory. I even caught a sea lion stalking its prey.
Oh no!
Yeah, that's not a, is that a leopard tail?
Uh-oh! Uh-oh! Go, 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 Mr. Penguin, run! Woo, he got off.
Antarctica is pristine and beautiful beyond belief. The stark black mountains contrast with ever-present white snow, and the air is so clear you can see miles away. The sunsets, oh, the sunsets are spectacular. The scientists who occupy the Chilean station during the austral summer and the cruise lines that visit the area are very protective of the continent. As the global warming debate rages on, the spotlight continues to shine on the dire consequences of human action on our planet. An area often left out of the debate is the South Pole. Perhaps because it is among the least visited destinations in the world. It may be also because it's uninhabited by humans for most of the year, or its sheer vastness and seemingly never-ending ice sheet evokes invulnerability. Yet, Antarctica holds many keys to the mysteries of Earth, locking away secrets beneath layers of ice as thick as a mile. Over 80% of the world's ice is found in Antarctica. Let that sink in. If all that ice were to melt, there would be 6 times more water on the planet than currently exists. Let that sink in.
Every second, 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of ice is disappearing from Antarctica.
Glacier ice is delicious, by the way. I had a little piece. But Antarctica is the last great frontier. It is the last unspoiled place on Earth. At least it should be, but for the effects of climate change.
The cause is warming ocean waters, and the ice melt has implications for sea level rise well beyond the South Pole region.
According to one recent study, the continent's ice is slipping away 6 times faster than it was 40 years ago.
On board with me were Dr. Peter Carey and Dr. Craig Franklin, both world-renowned zoologists and experts on the continent's wildlife, having made over 400 trips as guides. Even back then, they remarked on the effects of the warming oceans resulting in retreating glaciers and slow melting. Far from affecting only the landscape, however, the wildlife is also at risk.
This warming environment threatens 2 species of penguins.
International scientists who use the Chilean research station on Paradise Island as their base can attest to the effects of the size of the penguin colonies. Some of them are getting smaller and some of them are moving. Walking around the base, carefully avoiding the residents, I learned about the work being done to track the tuxedoed birds, the information about the planet buried deep within the layers of snow and ice, and the history of expeditions, successful and failed. In February 2007, I visited the White Continent and returned with an appreciation for its role in keeping our world intact. The direct impacts of melting glaciers on rising seas and flooded cities can no longer be disputed.
A state of emergency in the beautiful Italian city of Venice. Exceptional flooding from high tides, the worst in 50 years.
As I write, eastern Canada and the northeast coast of the USA are undergoing record cold, with each year seemingly worse than the year before. In summer of 2019, Hurricane Dorian pummeled Abaco and Grand Bahama Islands in the Bahamas for 2 full days with ferocious winds in excess of 150 miles per hour, leaving behind hundreds of missing people and a recovery process that will take decades to complete. Our climate is in trouble. Our very existence on this planet is in trouble. Now, I'm no climate change expert. I'm just a concerned citizen of the world trying to do my part to make a difference. Aaah-Inspiring Antarctica, the experience, takes a look at the continent through the eyes of my own camera lens, in my own words through 2 printed books, a pictorial travelogue and a children's book, a short film and a talk. I hope to inspire the next generation and you to be bold. Step out of your comfort zone and explore this magnificent world. Go out and learn about and from cultures that are different from your own. There is vast knowledge and truth to be gained from travel. Lasting knowledge and untouched truths that help us to be more tolerable, more understanding, more empathetic, more aware of our planet, and ultimately more human. I want to provoke thought and stir consciences. How will we change what we're doing to this only earth we have? It is ours today. It is our grandchildren's tomorrow. While we're busy out there searching for new worlds to conquer, let us not forget that this is still the only one we have.
Where the penguins play and the seal them stray, the icebergs tall and the snow will fall. Where the whale them meet for the krill them eat, the ice floes fly and the mountain high. Down in Antarctica, down in Antarctica.
What a beautiful place,
Down
Judy.
in Antarctica. I tell you, it's nice.
I could never imagine a world like this.
Incredible work. Give it up one more time for Judith Falloon-Reid. Yeah. And of course, that is Judith's voice and a little of me doing that. And later on at the end of the program, we're going to do the penguin slide. And we're going to invite the audience. You know, we have a lot of thespians and dancers here, you know, so we're going to do a little thing, right? Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure in introducing the person who's going to be introducing the author. Could you help me welcome Mr. Christopher Bond? I heard that he's the uncle of James Bond.
Actually, no, I'm just the elder brother. Folks, I think you've got a little taste of what knowing Judy is all about. I've known Judy for more years, and oh God, Judy wants me to tell you. And I am inspired. I'm in awe of Judy. Let me say that from the start. She's one of the most incredible people I know. And Malachi is not only you that Michael Brown going to come for. Why do I say I'm in awe of Judy? Judy is different, and different in a really special way. Judy is such a talented person. She could have chosen virtually any career that she wanted. The one thing she knew she did not want to do was to get trapped in the corporate boardroom. So from very early on, she said that wasn't her. But Judy has passion. And she has things inside her that she'll tell you quite frankly, if she doesn't get these out, I'm going to mad her. When I say she is talented, she's a singer. She is an accomplished film producer, film writer, film director. To give you an idea of some of the films she has Just Another Friday 2, 70x7, Eyewitness, A Gift Everlasting. These are films that were all produced on a shoestring budget and have received critical acclaim, not just in Jamaica, but in the region as well, and in North America. She's a very talented author. And when you hear some of the titles of the works that she's done, you begin to understand a little bit about her. She's very impatient with people who, for example, don't have ambition and don't seem to be trying to make something of themselves. Hence the title of one of her books. Don't come to her to beg. Here's $100. Go get a life. Other books that she's done: The Silent Stones, Mirrors Cleaner in Paradise, Scream and Riot, which is really a collection of poetry, Monday Morning Meditations, Full Circle, Time and Seasons, and now Aaah-Inspiring Antarctica. To know Judy is to be in the presence of somebody who wants you to see some of the world as she sees it. And this has allowed you to get a glimpse of a part of the world that you would never have otherwise seen unless you're fortunate like Senor Palacio. Because Judy, as far as we know, is the second person, one of two people that we can confirm is Jamaican and has been to Antarctica. I don't know how many of you have it on your bucket list of things to do. I don't. But this has satisfied my need, and this has shown me parts of Antarctica that I did not know before.
Where's the ambition?
Judy is an overachiever in so many ways. She's a fantastic mother to two beautiful daughters, but those aren't the only people who call Judith mother. I remember visiting her house in Florida, and the house was like open house to so many children from around the church group. Children who would, but for Judy, have found themselves with way too much time on their hands and too much opportunity for trouble. Judy provided a rock for them. She provided a center that grounded them. Judy is deeply religious. Judy knows that each of us is here for a bigger purpose than just ourselves. And she is determined that we're going to find that conscience in us and try to make not just ourselves better, but all of those in whom we come in contact with better as well. And this is part of what she's doing with this exhibition today. Most of what Judy does, she doesn't do it for the money. You know, many times the cost of what she does outweighs whatever payment she gets for it. But as I said, these are things inside her that are just bursting to come out. This is part of why Judy is here with us today, to share so much of herself with us as she has. As I said, she's an awe-inspiring woman. I am so proud to know you, Judy, and continue to do what you're doing, continue to push the boundaries, continue to make us realize that we have a purpose to be here that is bigger than just making ourselves happy. We have a world to influence. We have people out there to mentor. We have a responsibility to ourselves, to our kids, to our neighbors, and to our grandkids. For many of us, our time is almost up here. We have already had the good times. We've already lived a life that is relatively good for most of us. For some of us, it hasn't been what we wanted, but we have tried to do the best we can. The world is not necessarily a better place than that into which I was first born. And I feel very sad to say that, because we've developed in many, many ways, but we've also lost a lot of things. And one of the things that we are likely to lose unless we do something about it is, as Judy says, the one planet in which we live. We have a responsibility to take care of it, not just for ourselves, because whatever is happening to the planet, I'll be long gone. But I have children, and all of us have other ones who are depending on us, and there are generations to come that are depending on us. So Judy, keep on holding us to the mark. Keep on letting us see things through your eyes. Keep on enjoying life as much as you can. Keep on sharing. Judy, I love you to death, you know that. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce Judith Falloon-Reid.
Thank you, Chris. Let me put this one down. I'm glad he didn't tell you all that I left him at cast and went on to do other things, because I was bored. I was bored beyond all measure. Thank you so much for that introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, my memory not what it used to be, so pardon me while I do this. But I'm so excited to be here. This has been 12 years in the making. 12 years in the making. People ask me why now? Why 12 years later? Well, for one, if I had done it 12 years ago, I would not have had the resources to do it as well as I've done it. And so God don't make no mistakes. He give you the ideas, and sometimes he said, just sit down and wait a little bit. I'm not quite ready yet. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for the library. I'm grateful that when Carol called Beverly, she said, yeah, man, sound like a good idea. You know, and she opened up the National Library, and later on I'll say thanks to her amazing staff. And so I actually engineered the press trip to get down there, because I was working for this cruise line for several years and writing from pictures and research. And I'm like, no, man, I need to go. I'm one of those people who like to zip line and, you know, fly from stuff and hang upside down. I'm not afraid of heights and all. I'm not afraid of many things, to be honest with you. If it can't eat me in one go, we're good to go. Yeah. If I can get away from it or crush it, I'm good. And so I took a press trip down there, 5 journalists, and their significant others or not. And we spent a few days in Buenos Aires, and then boarded
a plane from Buenos Aires to Ushuaia. See, I had been taught that it was pronounced Ushuaia until I got there and the native said, it's Ushuaia. So I was like, okay, so I started calling it that. And then when I went back, everybody's like, you're pronouncing it wrong. I'm like, no, you're pronouncing it wrong. Anyway, and the most remarkable thing happened. I had my little Nikon camera. I am not a photographer. I took 729 pictures. You notice you only see 30 something of them. What does that tell you? I'm not a photographer. But I took that and I took a little video camera. 90% of the footage that you watched was from my video camera. This was before high def, so yes, it's just a regular camera, but I thought, you know what, I'm showing it anyway. I love it and I'm showing it and I'm proud of it. And I got the cover shot. I ended up getting a cover shot on a national magazine that I didn't go down there to write for. And a 4-page article, the article is actually outside, which was taken from my blog. While I was there, I wrote a blog, which I kept sending back to my friends by email. And I got 4 or 5 shots in this national magazine that asked me for the article. And so what you'll find inside Aaah-Inspiring Antarctica, which is the coffee table book, is actually my blog. I'm going to do a quick reading for you. The other book, which is Antarctica Adventures with Jamaican on ice, I was actually Michael was pulling into the church parking lot one Sunday while this other book was in progress. And I went, oh, I should do a children's book. Should do a children's version. And then it snowballed. I came here and said to Monique and Chantal from the library that I'm doing a children's book as well. And Chantal, well, you might as well do a song. And I said, song? I'm not doing no song, man. She said, yes, you need a song. So about 2 weeks later, I had a song. So I'm going to share some of this with you while I flip pages. My dream became a reality in February 2007 when I had the privilege of leading a group of journalists on a trip to Antarctica. I started my adventure with 5 days exploring Buenos Aires, the Paris of the South, before flying to Ushuaia, the southernmost city in Argentina and the world, before I boarded my ship, MV Discovery, with just over 400 other adventurous travelers. Crossing the often treacherous Drake Passage, we arrived in the Southern Ocean. Our trip included visits to penguin rookeries on Paradise and Half Moon Islands, a visit to the Chilean Research Station, cruising glaciers by Zodiac expedition boats, as well as sailing the Chilean fjords. Aaah-Inspiring Antarctica is not meant to be a comprehensive lesson in all things Antarctica. It is in fact a replica of the blog I wrote while in Antarctica. As such, the images may not always depict the text, and some amount of imagination may be needed to bridge the gaps. If I could remember it all 12 years later, then maybe I would have written you a story. But alas, memory is a fading thing. You must be content with my blog. And so I'm going to take you to Antarctica now. So we crossed the Drake Passage overnight. It was amazing. And when I woke up the next morning, because I was the marketing director for the cruise line, I had a premium cabin up the top. Nice cabin, ambassadors or commodores cabin or something like that they call it. And it was spectacular. And I had this beautiful big picture window like 3 sides of my cabin. And when I opened my eyes the morning and I looked out, I saw stark black mountains, like jet black mountains, and white ice all over them. And it was spectacular. And then I heard people screaming outside, whale, whale! So I jumped up and ran outside. Antarctica, the white continent. 100 documentaries and movies about Antarctica and its lovable penguins could never do justice to the magnificence and sheer stark beauty that lie before me on my first Antarctica morning. I stare outside the window to the endless glacier that lay beyond. 300 degrees, a panoramic view by any definition. The anticipation builds as I wait to hear the ring of the intercom and the now familiar voice of Simon, our cruise director, calling for passengers with blue-colored discs to come to the carousel lounge to receive your tickets for the Zodiac boats. It's now time for your zodiac cruising. The intercom breaks the silence. But it's the orange-colored discs that get the prize. Blue will continue to wait. I stare impatiently at the blue disc in my hand. In the distance, little red dots can be spotted, floating on what appears to be a black sheet of rubber. People in a zodiac, dwarfed by the immense glaciers on the background. If you watch real closely, you can almost make out black specks moving at the base of the ice. I hear tell that there are penguins, fur seals, and an elephant seal somewhere at the base of the ice. I will have to wait my turn to see. And while I wait impatiently, I'll reminisce on the already amazing day I've had. A couple of humpback whales just aft, starboard, propelled me out of my cabin, layered and ready to shoot in the early morning. I hear they're there, but all I see is a bit of surf too far away to be anything but a breaking wave. But wait, maybe I spoke too soon. Just there, a slight movement. The pair exhale, and for a quick second I can see them disappearing in the distance. Whales! Someone shouts. Port side! I turn just in time to see the black of their backs, breaking the surface. Click! Missed it. A group of porpoising penguins are just beneath me. Click! A first seal glides out and back into the water. Click! Missed it. I happily settle for a seal lounging on an ice floe. Ah, did you see that? Of course not. I turned just in time to see a baby humpback whale put on a show, breaching 5 times as though he knew we were watching. Click, click, click. I'm sure someone caught that shot, just not me. At the captain's pleasure, I accompany my group of journalists onto the bridge. The sights are more spectacular from here, the commentary more interesting, and the company more elite. A front row seat to the inner workings of the ship, the commands of the captain as he decides where to drop anchor amid a sea of floating ice. Alas, with no safe place within McFarlane Strait, we move on. We will get our chance soon, but for now, I wait with the others for our color to be called. Yellow, then blue. I just can't wait. The blues are finally called, and I climb into a Zodiac, camera at the ready. It's time to become one of the little red dots floating on the black rubber in icy Antarctic waters. The waves make it impossible for us to land, but that's just fine. There are gentoo penguins and seals on the volcanic beach, and the sounds of a calving glacier somewhere out of sight make it all worthwhile. There is majesty all around us, and I know God exists. Suntan in Antarctica. It is sunnier here than in Florida today, and undoubtedly warmer than anywhere north of the Georgia border. And the views, like nowhere else on Earth. Massive icebergs float by, ice bluer than it should be. Volcanic islands disappear into the clouds as I sit by the window, getting a tan, book in hand, talking to a lady from England, Jean, I think. Today I'll simply watch this amazing world go by. Slowly the sun is being replaced by fog and clouds, and snowflakes descend. Yes, today I will simply watch the world go by until tonight when I join the group for dinner at the captain's table. So this next piece I actually arrive on land at Paradise Harbor. I can't feel my toes, I hope they're still there. But my mind is as clear as the crystal waters around Paradise Harbor. Here in the midst of the most awe-inspiring scenery on Earth, massive glaciers, stinky gentoos, seals lazing on ice floes, and shades of blue ice, I find myself among the men who occupy the Gabriel Gonzalez Videla Chilean Air Force Base, a research station. There are others with me, of course, but except for the penguins and cormorants picking their way around me, I'm alone in my thoughts. World-renowned explorer Peter Carey is our expedition leader, and he sticks close to my group, taking us to where an albino, not truly albino, he says, penguin stands out from the crowd. It's all white feathers covering areas where black feathers never reported for duty. He doesn't seem to notice the difference, and I'm not sure if his black and white tuxedoed family and friends do either. They seem oblivious to many things, really, including the putrid stench of guano which fills the rocks, pathway, and air, and stains their white feathers. I wondered to myself, where do photographers find all those perfect penguins with perfectly white bellies? There are airbrushed penguins all over the world. A quick stop at the souvenir shop for a certificate as proof that I was here, and one for my grandson, who I hope will one day make it here. A thorough scrub of the boots to remove the mud and guano, and it's onto our Zodiac for a 10-minute ride back to the ship, almost blending in the background against the glacier and slightly hidden behind the fog that's rolling in. A fur seal strikes the perfect pose on an ice floe as we go by. I think he's done this before. He must be from Hollywood. So ladies and gentlemen, when you do buy your book, don't just look at the pictures. Read the story. Read the story. I've shown it to a few people and everybody goes, so what is that? And I'm like, read the story. Yeah, so what is that? I'm like, read the story. So read the story. We do have books on sale. And I was reminded to make sure I say it, that there are books on sale, and the hardcover book, which is the coffee table book, is $4,500 Jamaican, and the children's book is $25. It's soft cover. I'll be telling you more about that. For the people who are watching through the stream, the book is now available on my website at JamaicanOnIce.com. That's JamaicanOnIce.com, with shipping to the USA and Canada now available. And so that's a little taste of my book, and I just wanted to share a couple of things that I learned and found remarkable while I was there. And I want to say to Senor Palacio, I really, really loved Argentina. When you get your book, you'll see that there's a whole section on Argentina, because I spent 5 days speaking Spanglish in Buenos Aires. I found out I know more Spanish than I thought I did. The funny thing is that if you try to speak Spanish to me when I'm in Jamaica, it's gone. But once I'm there, I kind of remember it. And I had 5 people, none of whom spoke Spanish, and this was before Google. So yes, I had to dig deep. But I had an amazing time, and I want to thank you for coming, because I wanted you to see the work that I've done based on your beautiful, beautiful, beautiful country. I learned a few things. I learned that batteries don't last long. Or for you all watching, batteries. I learned that they don't last long in very cold weather. So when we were packing to go, the expedition team kept sending back saying, bring lots and lots and lots of batteries. And make sure you bring rechargeables. Make sure you have at least 2 chargers to charge your rechargeables. I'm like, this is really extreme. So let me tell you, I found out that one, in extremely cold weather, batteries don't last long. And I also found out that because we're so close to the South Pole, the polarity, something scientific, that include the word polarity, happens, the pull on and it drains your battery. So my footage, I kept having to recharge my camera battery, and I had to be very selective what I took pictures of. So 729 pictures later, yes. I also found out about the penguin poop, that it's pink, it stinks, you smell it long before you get there, and it's because they eat krill. I found out that skua gulls are very vicious. Now, one of my pictures shows a gull eating a penguin carcass. The penguin was already dead, let me just tell you. It didn't kill it. It was already dead. And this is the food chain in action. This is nature in action. No part of the animal must go to waste. And so, you know, but I've seen footage of skua gulls attacking penguins. And we were warned when we got on land to be careful and to look out for these gulls that will dive and attack you. So I found that out. That was very, very interesting, because every time you saw one, it was, it's hard to identify which bird it is, but every time you saw one, you kind of did like that because you didn't know. I found out that that air, when perfectly clean, now in Antarctica, there's no dust particles to mash up the air. It's 100% clean. And that when the air is completely clean, everything looks really close. So some of those big icebergs that you see pictures of, remember now only 1/10 of the iceberg is above water. And I took those pictures from the top deck because I was on the bridge. And I was like, okay, aren't we a little too close to those icebergs? And the ice master would say, no, it's like 2 miles away, because he's the expert. But it looked like you could literally just reach over the railing and touch it. And they explained that it was because the air is so clean. When I was driving in, when Michael and I were driving down here this morning at 7:30, the smog on the Spanish Town Road was unreal. And I thought, am I in San Francisco? You know, it was just so much. So our air, clean air, makes a real difference. And if it does that to just the things we see, can you imagine what it's doing to the inside of us if we could get clean air? I also found out that the austral summer, which runs between November and February, March, and I got there at the end of the austral summer, it's actually warmer than I expected. So there were days that on the Zodiac boat going over, of course, you're on water and you're traveling, so it's cold. But there were days that I got on land. We did two landings. I had to start pulling stuff off because it was like 42 degrees. And I know 42 degrees sound cold, I get it. But when you travel, and those of you who travel and know that 42 degrees in New York in February is like summer, you're so happy that it reached 42. You know, it's like, woohoo, 42, I can put on a t-shirt. Whereas, yeah, Dexter laughs because once it hits 42, he's like wrapped up from head to toe and under 4 blankets. But if you consider that particular week, there was a cold front in Florida, and North Florida was at 33. And I was in Antarctica at 42. And so when I wrote back to my friends, I'm like, I'm warmer than you. You should come down. Get a little of the sun. Here is the most fascinating thing that happened, though. And I love sharing this because it's to me anyway, it was fascinating. And I guess I'm fascinated easily, but the night that we stayed out to take the sunset, you'll see sunset shots around. That was like 9:30 in the night. The sun was going down, and the sunsets were just absolutely spectacular. But the night we stayed out, when we looked to the south, we had one of the journalists was also an astronomer. Amateur, but had spent many years doing it. So he knew his stuff. He showed us the Southern Cross. He showed us all kinds of stuff. I don't know if they were true because I don't know. But I can only tell you what he told me. But this much I do know. So we looked to the south, and the moon was coming up. And as the moon was coming up, big and round, it was a full moon, there was like this curve on the moon, a shadow. And I was like, what's that? That's weird. And he said, because we're so far south, when it's coming up, you can actually see the curve of the earth, the shadow of the curvature of the earth on the moon coming up. I didn't have the right camera. I didn't have the right lens. But that would have been an amazing shot. And that I thought was just, that was something that wowed me and wows me to today. That we were so far south that you could see the curvature of the earth as the moon rose over the horizon. So that was really amazing. So I did all this to share because we have to really spend some time thinking about the earth and what we're doing with it. And just to encourage people to go out of your comfort zone, you know. Yeah, we'd like to go to Miami, and we like to go to America. America is not the whole world. And there's so much more to the world. There's so much history, so much culture, so much to see, so much to learn. And when you travel, take the bus. Eat where the locals eat. Get on the bus and talk, and if you can't talk because they speak another language, watch their hands, watch their eyes, see the things they see. The world is still amazing. Regardless of all the murder and mayhem going on, there is an amazing world out there, and we only have this one life to check it out. So I really want to encourage you all to check it out. And at this time, I'll take any questions.
I have one.
Yes. No, it's just the name of the boat. It's called a Zodiac. It's a company that makes it and the type of boat it is. They're big rubber dinghies that take between 12 and 14 people. and they're safe to go through the ice. They can handle the ice and everything. Anything else? Any other questions?
Hi, good evening. Thanks for sharing. I have two quick questions.
Sure.
One, years ago when I was in prep school, we read that Eskimos can see different tints in the snow. So they don't have one color, one word for snow. There are different types of snow depending on the color. I was wondering if you were able to decipher these different tints of white.
I would have to say yes and no. I don't know. The Eskimos are up north, so I'm not sure what they're seeing. But there was snow that was kind of yellowish, snow that would be a little more bluish snow. And I think some of it also has to do with whether it was a sunny day, a can't say rainy day, how much cloud cover. And what was interesting is some of the pictures that I've taken that show total dark, you know, like cloud cover, and then the very same place 5 minutes later, that would lift and it would be bright sunshine. So yes and no. I don't know if it had to do with just how the weather was. But the other thing that people don't know is that yes, there are plants. There are algae. And the red algae, yellow algae. So some of the red you see in the photos, it's not blood. It's actually plants.
You made mention that you were probably the only person of color on that trip. The other persons on the trip, were they English speakers, and did they start asking you a lot of questions about where you were from?
Yes, they were mostly English speakers, mostly old Caucasian, because it's a very expensive trip. Mostly old Caucasians. But why a lot of them didn't have to ask me is because I was the only woman of color, and I was the youngest person on the ship. No, there was one of the journalists was young, but I was one of the youngest people on the ship, and I was the only black person on the ship. And we don't get a lot of black people down there, and certainly not Jamaicans. So once one person heard the story, I would go around the ship, and people would go, "Oh, you're the Jamaican woman who works for the cruise line. I've been to Jamaica," and they would start talking about Jamaica and start asking me stuff about Jamaica. So it didn't take much, and I couldn't hide. And when Malachi says two people, I did try to find other information about anybody else from Jamaica. And I actually put it out on Facebook because I couldn't find anything. And the only other person that I know of was military, a Jamaican man who was in the military who was stationed at McMurdo in the 90s. So I am claiming first civilian Jamaican. I know we have a scientist who also went, but she went in 2009. And we have another one who is going this year. Yes. Daniela, who is going this year. And she's been wonderful to reach out to me, and we're going to link up to share and to talk.
Nice.
Yes.
Thank you for answering my question.
You're most welcome. I saw 2 hands in the back.
No, my only question was, what's next?
Oh dear. What's next is this exhibit is going all over the world. So for all the people listening, I'm looking for sponsors to help me to take this exhibit all over the world and into schools. I really have a passion for taking this into schools. I think our young people need to see this. I think our young people need to hear this. I think our young people need to understand where the world is today and just how limitless we really truly are. I don't have money. But if you have passion and you can find a way to make your dreams come true, and we truly are limitless. We are only limited by ourselves. And these are the kind of things that I want our young people to see, that a young black Jamaican, not so young no more, but young at the time, a young black Jamaican woman could do something that you would have thought was reserved for a different set of people, and that you can do it too. So whatever dream they have, they can do. Yes?
Hi, great film.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you.
My question is, have you been in touch with the happenings since going? If yes, what has changed?
What has changed? I have spoken to a couple of people, reached out to a couple of people, and some of the glaciers that you've seen have retreated. Like, even while I was there, they were talking about the retreating glaciers, and some of them have retreated completely now. At the time that I was there, there's one particular one, and the picture is here somewhere. When you walk around, you'll see it with the Zodiac boat in front of a big glacier. And that we had stopped in front of because they were showing us where it used to be and where it now was and where they expected it to be in 5 to 6 years. And that if I came back in 10 years' time, it may not even be there. So there's been a lot of changes there. There's been a lot of changes to the penguin colonies. Penguin colonies have been, there's one article that came to me today, because ever since I started doing this, people just send me every article they find on Antarctica. And it talked about chinstrap colonies that were dying completely. Thousands of birds that were dying. And if you can imagine that a 65-degree day in a place that's used to having minus degrees, you can imagine what that did to the wildlife on even just that one day. And so, yes, it has changed a lot. But there are some places also that are icing over that weren't iced over before. And so some penguin colonies are actually moving. They're migrating to other areas, which, you know, if you're a human being, you can migrate and be okay. But if the food source that you're used to having is not available in the area you've migrated to, then that's extinction right there. So there's a lot more to it. Good afternoon.
What's the most significant takeaway from this experience?
The most significant takeaway from this experience for me, and that was the question, was the whole idea of the role that Antarctica plays in keeping the balance in our entire world. The fact that 80% of the ice in the world is there, and what that means if that ice should melt. The fact that the air down there is pristine and clean, and tells me that there are other places in the world where we could have clean air if we wanted to, if human beings wanted to, if we had the will, if our business people decided to put the good of the world ahead of the bottom line, that there is a lot that we could accomplish. And just being there and seeing nature in its most natural state. Apart from the Argentinian research station, the Chilean research station, a couple of research stations, nobody lives there. So nobody's been able to ruin it. And the fact that the Argentinian government, the Chilean government, all the governments that have research stations, they are very, very, very protective of the area. They're very protective of the wildlife. They're very protective of the area. You cannot go down there and drop a piece of paper on the ground. You know, they're very protective. So it tells me that as human beings, we do have the capacity to do this. We just don't have the will. Yes?
I noticed you said in the film, when you were going on that island...
Hold on one second. Let me bring this to you, because they're streaming.
Sorry, thank you. I noticed on the film you were talking about going onto the island with the penguins, and I remembered you saying we were trained or instructed to respect the animals there. And I really appreciated that, because it's unfortunate that even here, when we have our little gardens and or green areas, people will come and they do not respect the space. They do not respect what you're trying to maintain there, and it no longer becomes something that we should be enjoying. We destroy it. Also, we are grooming 5 students, primary students, to become cultural ambassadors. What you're doing is something that we need the schools, all of the schools, to become aware of and realize that when they dump garbage in the gullies, they're breathing in it, they're sleeping in it, and all sorts of things. There's going to be an after effect. Yeah, we need to get this out there as much as possible.
Thank you. Anybody else before I wrap up so we can... Good. Yes.
I'm fascinated with this photograph.
The big iceberg here? Yes, that big iceberg, well, that's the one that I was worried about, to be honest with you. I was never worried on that ship until I saw that, because I thought it was so close by. And I asked the ice master, you know, what makes the shapes of the icebergs? And he explained that basically the icebergs are pieces of land that chip off. You know, that's what they are. They're not formed at sea. So they're pieces of land. And that would have been a piece of land that would have had some form of a crater or something that broke off and is now at sea. So all of them, there are a couple of really interesting shapes. I was very fascinated by the shapes of the icebergs. And they explained that, yes, this is just land mass that has chipped off, right? And yes, and it's covered in ice and has gone adrift. Anything else? Well, thank you all so much. I hope this was as fascinating for you as it was for me. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. But I want to thank you all for being here. First of all, I need to say thanks to my God and Creator, because He gave me vision, He gave me talent, He gave me the inspiration, and He gave me that outstanding husband. Come out here, please, Mr. Brown. This is my darling. And let me explain it to those of you who are wondering. Yeah, who are wondering. I know my last name is Falloon-Reid. It's my previous name. I've been writing it for 25 or 30 years. So when I remarried, I couldn't get rid of it. And it was unique, so I kept it. But I am married to Michael Brown. Okay, let me just quickly say thanks. Michael, thank you for lifting me so high that I can soar. Thank you. Beverly Lashley, Monique Forgy Scott. Monique, where Forgy Scott? Stand up, stand up. She's so little bit you can't see her. Chantal Cousins, where are you? Stand up, stand up, stand up. I don't know where she's checking that something is going right, I'm sure. The entire NLJ team, and I mean the entire team, the bindery, the PR people, everybody, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because you guys rock. I mean, I'm sure there's some more poetic way to say it, but all I can say is you rock. You guys rock. Thank you so much. Wisinko and Grace sponsored refreshments for Student Day. They sponsored drinks for Student Day. So tomorrow we have hordes of students running through here. They're not going to be running, don't worry, to see the exhibit from many schools across the island. Not just Kingston, some are coming from as far as Anchovy, Montego, down by Montego Bay End, to see the exhibit, to see the film, and to have this talk. I want to thank the 4-H for catering this evening. You will have refreshments when we're finished here. I want to thank Barbara, who rallied to help us with window dressing, and my friends who rallied. Christine Neal Wright, for your poem. I love that poem. She just sent it to me on WhatsApp, and I was like, girl, you gotta come to the poem. I want to thank Chris Bond for introducing me. Chris has been, he's my children's godfather. He is my confidant. He is my friend. And he's been part of my life for so long, I can't imagine a point when he wasn't. I want to thank my friend Michael Thomas, who is sitting right here. Attorney at law Michael Thomas, who is another one of those people who I can't imagine or remember a time when he wasn't in my life supporting me and being there for me. Malachi came all the way from Florida. Take a bow, Malachi Smith. Malachi, when I approached him and said, Malachi, I have a little song, you know, I want you to help me with him. Yeah, man, make me go to studio. And so he arranged the studio with his son, and we just had a blast. And he couldn't get some words right. He just couldn't get the words, man. But we had fun, and you're gonna have fun with the penguin slide. Dreamy Riley of Irie Times. Irie Times is streaming. Dreamy is the gentleman from Irie Times. My YFC family, stand up. Stand up. I can't be without my YFC family. Youth for Christ. Pastor Faye and Andrew, who are manning the table. Andrew, who is doing my live stream. Andrew is my right hand. He's my assistant director. He handles social media. He's an actor. Vanessa Silvera, who is going to be interviewing those of you who would like to be interviewed and those of you we want to interview. Ruth Ann Woolcock from RJL. Ruth Ann, stand up. Ruth Ann helped to coordinate this whole thing, and I don't know where she disappeared to, but she's probably making sure your refreshments are there. And everyone who took time to come, those of you who are going to buy a book, those of you who are watching by the stream, everybody who came to support, my gratitude really knows no bounds. It means a lot to me that you are here. Next stop, Bookophilia. I'm going to be reading to the children this Saturday at 1 p.m. at Bookophilia at 92 Hope Road. Bring your kids. I'll be in Ocho Rios on Wednesday the 19th at Umpire's Restaurant at Mystic Ridge, along with the St. Anne Chamber of Commerce. So Ocho Rios, come on out. And in Montego Bay on the 23rd of February at Iritz, which is a wonderful event. That's an acoustic event, and Luciano will be there. So, time for the penguin slide. All right, you've been sitting down too long. Okay, so, you know we have to have some fun, right? We're not too old to have fun, right? Correct? Yeah, man, let's have some fun. So the words are going to be up there. So you can come on up, Malachi. You can sing along with us. And then we're going to show you how the penguin slide. You can't turn off too much light still because they won't see it. We have to use the one mic. Come. They won't see it. Let's do it. You can sing, you can dance. This is our theme song. Thank you, Chantal, for the idea. Coming up.
Hey, Judy, you ready?
Yeah, man, Pedro, I'm ready.
Cool place. We're going to a cool place.
I'm ready. You ready?
Grab a jacket.
Let's go. Jamaica go everywhere, that you should know. From the heat of the equator to the lands down below. Hop aboard a plane, and here we go to the white continent, the land of ice and snow.
Where the penguins play and the seal them stray, the icebergs tall and the snow will fall. Where the wheel them meet for the grill them eat, the ice floats by and the mountain high. Down in Antarctica, down in Antarctica, down in Antarctica, down in Antarctica. The Southern Sea is where you'll find me when the austral summer makes everything warmer. But at 40 degrees it's too cold, you see. I can't feel my toes or the fingers on my hand, 'cause I'm from a hot place. I'm Jamaican. Okay, everybody, chorus. Where the penguins play and the seal them stray, the icebergs tall and the snow will fall. Where the wheel them meet for the grill them eat, the ice floats by on the mountain high. Down in Antarctica, down in Antarctica, down in Antarctica, down in Antarctica. Oh, Pedro, watch the penguin sliding, do the penguin slide.
You see them barking.
Do the penguin slide, let's do the penguin slide, let's do the penguin slide. Where the penguins play and the seal them stray, the icebergs tall and the snow will fall. Where the wheel them meet for the grill them eat, the ice floats by on the mountain high. Where the penguins play and the seal them stray, the icebergs tall and the snow will fall. Where the wheel them meet for the grill them eat, the ice floats by on the mountain high. Down in Antarctica, down in Antarctica.
What a beautiful place,
Down
Judy.
in Antarctica. I tell you, it's nice.
I could never imagine a world like this.
Now take me and go back to Jamaica and I love it.
Oh my, oh my. Wow, wow, look at the penguins. Look at the mountains. Wow.
Down in Antarctica.
This is the importance of protecting the planet.
Okay, I was so excited about that. I'd like to ask first, Senor Palacio, Please step forward.
Thank you very much.
I would like to present you, okay, here we go. I would like to present you with a copy of Aaah-Inspiring Antarctica for your embassy. And thank you so much for welcoming me to your beautiful country. I'll sign it as soon as I'm finished. And then, could you bring 2 copies of each for me, please? Sorry. So for those of you who don't know, you are to deposit your books at the National Library. 2 copies of each. This is the place where long after you are gone, people will know you have been and the work that you did because you came and you deposited your books. So I'd like to invite Monique and Chantal to come. Monique is the manager of collections. So I would like to present them with these copies.
Like you have a hit song on hand, Judith. Antarctica, down in Antarctica.
Thank you very much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a phenomenal and wonderful evening watching this film. And Judith is going to be outside signing. Remember, the book is on sale. But she also implored us that we have a responsibility for this planet, right? It is sick. And we, in our own little way, individually and collectively, is being challenged to make a difference, to make some changes in our lives. So our children's children will be able to have experience a little of what we are privileged to enjoy today.
Deputy Ambassador Palacio, what are your thoughts after seeing the film and viewing the exhibit?
Well, it is a beautiful book and a beautiful exhibition. I think it's very inspiring because, well, it's not only telling Jamaicans that, or encouraging them to travel the world and to see that the world is, well, it's not only, North America sometimes as many Jamaicans think, but also the South and especially Antarctica is also a place that it is important to the world, and in that sense, we are, as Argentina is proud that, for example, Ushuaia is like the gateway to Antarctica, and Argentina plays an important role in Antarctica because it doesn't only has scientific stations, but for example, the secretary of the Antarctic Treaty is in Buenos Aires, the Argentine capital, and so we are very we care a lot about Antarctica. We play a role there, and we are very happy to see that Jamaica is now, or Jamaicans are now interested in this beautiful part of the earth.
I'm here with National Librarian Beverly Lashley. Good afternoon, Ms. Lashley.
Yes, good afternoon.
All right, so after the bit and watching the film, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I was so excited. I was actually overseas when she called me, when Judith called me and asked if she could launch the exhibition and the book at the National Library. Now, Antarctica. Who goes to Antarctica? And a Jamaican going to Antarctica. So I said, what a wonderful idea. Of course we'll do it. Because what we like to do is have a space for persons in the creative industry. They, showcase their craft. So we're pleased when she said she wanted to do the launch and the exhibition here. But it has gone much further. It has gone now to a film, the documentary, and we also have that song, Down in Antarctica.
So did you do the penguin slide?
I did.
All right, so you also got 2 books. One copy of Aaah-Inspiring Antarctica and the other one, which is the children's book. What are you hoping that the book will, because it's been added to? You're looking at me like, no, ask me that. All right, fine, we will ask you. You also received copies of the book.
Yes, well, most persons are not aware of the Legal Deposit Act of 2004, and that act mandates that any publisher, so it's not only books, it's films, videos, anything you've done, you're supposed to deposit copies by law to the National Library. So she fulfilled that obligation today and gave us her copies.
And this is because 100 years from now, a millennium from now, there will still be the book there for persons to come and see.
The book, the work, the film, everything, because as you know, we're gone into the digital age, so we're digitizing everything so that future generation can actually see these. We're preserving them and make them accessible digitally to the wider public.
Final question, how does this add to the wealth of knowledge that is here at the National Library?
Well, for one, she's the first Jamaican woman to go to the Antarctica. So it's from a different slant, totally, on record. It's a totally different slant, which has never been done before. So to me, that's really pioneering work. And we really appreciate that she came to the National Library as a woman and also as one of the first persons to go to the Antarctica, a Jamaican.
Thank you so very much, Miss Lashley. Have a good one.
I'm Carol Newman. I'm the General Manager for Jam Copy, the Jamaican Copyright Licensing Agency.
So you are responsible for making the link between Judith Falloon-Reid and the National Library. How did that go?
Yes, actually, last summer I was visiting in Florida, and Judith and I go back because of her connection with Jam Copy and so on. And so we met for lunch. And over lunch, we were talking about catching up generally. And then she mentioned that she had this project that she's been giving birth to for some time, and she was thinking of bringing it and launching it. So we talked about it, and I said, we talked about possible venues or possible agencies that would want to host it. And I said, I think National Library, and I am connected with the National Library in other capacity. So right there and then at lunch, I said, let me call Beverly and see if it's something that she would want to take on. So I called her on WhatsApp, and she was in, I think it was Dubai or some far-flung place. Thank God for WhatsApp, eh? And she answered and said, so we thought about it, and she said, fabulous, of course, yes. So then when Judith I said, well, Judith is supposed to be coming to Jamaica, so when she came, she could make the link up. And here we are.
So having moved from the background to seeing the birth, which is the film, and the exhibits, what are your thoughts? Give me one thing you've learned from the film.
I've learned so many things. What is the main thing? Oh, I didn't know that, what did she say? 80% of the water of this world is concentrated in Antarctica. I had no idea about that at all. And this is an awesome experience.
All right, so any plans to go to Antarctica?
Well, actually, I've been, as I saying to the Deputy of Mission, Senor Palacio, that I have been to Argentina probably 3 or 4 times, to Buenos Aires, but I've never gone down south. And it's one of these things that, in fact, on the last occasion, there were some colleagues who were going down south, not as far as there, but they went. And I'm thinking, if I did even go down a little bit to Terra del Fuego, I could have just said, I'm going near to Antarctica, right? I don't know that I'll reach to Antarctica, but what Judith said about traveling and how it opens up your mind, that is just way so true. It is. I've been fortunate to have gone to a couple of places, and really it's one of the things that is high on my list, traveling to as many places as I can, and it's about inspiring my own children. And so it's interesting because once they've inspired them, they're sort of afraid to fly, but then having gone 1 time and 2 times, then get the bug, and so they want to go everywhere now. So it's something that I would encourage people to do. When you've traveled, you begin to appreciate what you have here in Jamaica, and you begin to appreciate this world and your creator. Gal, you're brave. You're brave. But more power to you. On to the next adventure, and carry with you.
Yes. She should carry all of us with her. All right, thank you so very much for talking with me.
You're welcome. All right.
I'm here with the National Director of the Jamaica Youth for Christ.
And I'm saying, wow, if just in a little way we could protect our space to help make this world a better place, then without doubt would have added value. Our purpose of coming would have made such a difference. And what I get overall is that you and I, or any little man, any little woman, can have a big dream, act up on it and make the difference. And I said, but after all, my phone have a camera, you know.
So you could be a photographer.
You get my point? I can do it. And I just say that, but I believe that my son can do it, my daughter, and the little ones and the generation to come. So we can do great things. And she has led the way tremendously. And we want to say congratulations to a little woman, but mighty and talawa. Yes. And she's been used greatly.
Thank you so very much, Reverend Dexter Johnson. All right, have a good one and view the exhibits. Have fun. All right. So I am here with the actual powerhouse, the brain and the talent behind the film, the exhibit. She says she's not a photographer, but God knows those photos are gorgeous. Judith Falloon-Reid. Hello, Judith.
Hi, Vanessa.
So you are at the end of this process that took, what, 12 years?
Call it 12 years.
How does it feel?
I feel like I gave birth. I'm tired. But it's like you gave birth. I'm tired, but I have this new baby and it's absolutely wonderful.
All right. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for?
Oh my gosh, I have to thank everybody. I have to thank my husband, my family, my friends, the National Library of Jamaica for opening up this great space so that I could have this wonderful event. I need to thank sponsors Grace and Wisinko who have sponsored stuff for tomorrow's Student Day when we're going to have a couple hundred students. My whole team, which includes you and Andrew and Faye and Andrea, and I could go on, but the staff of the National Library have been phenomenal. I want to thank Aaah TV and big up Aaah Times because Dreamy came all this way, and I just want to say thank you. And of course I have to give God thanks because without God there's no vision, there's no talent, there's nothing really. And so I didn't do this of myself. I didn't give myself all of this, you know. God gave me this, and the only thing I can do is give back what He gave me because it's not really mine. We're really just husbands and wives of what He gave us. They're not ours, and they're for us to use for the betterment of mankind. And so I give God thanks.
I was asking you earlier, what has changed since your trip to Antarctica?
What has changed is climate change has done a real job on Antarctica. Ice is melting rapidly. There's a lot of rapid melt. There are colonies, penguin colonies that are diminishing. Some have disappeared. Some have had to migrate. And they're migrating to other parts of Antarctica that don't necessarily have the food that they are used to eating. So that's happening. Glaciers are retreating at a ridiculous pace. And then there's some areas that are freezing over that were not frozen before and causing all kinds of other issues. So climate change is real. It's doing a job on our planet, and that's a big part of what has changed. As a matter of fact, the Argentinian research station recorded 65 degrees in Antarctica on Sunday. Today's Wednesday, so the Sunday before this, and that's ridiculous. So if you can imagine animals that are used to living in minus 20 and 20 degrees suddenly hitting 65, that's like us suddenly hitting 150. Yeah, think about that.
That said, what would you want this film and exhibit to do for the persons who see it?
I want to just raise awareness. A couple of things real quickly because I know we have to wrap up. But first of all, I want to encourage people to live their life. Go out and travel. Go and see the world. There's some fantastic and phenomenal stuff in the world that you need to see. The kind of education you get from travel, you cannot get from a book. You cannot get from a TV. Until you actually go and see and smell and touch for yourself, you really don't understand the kind of education you can get. So I want to encourage people to travel, not just as tourists and go lie down on the beach, but as people who learn about history and the culture of other people. It makes us more tolerable and more tolerant. Tolerable and tolerant, all at the same time. And then I also want people to just stop and think about what we're doing to the earth. We only have one planet. What are we doing to it? And to just be conscious, simple thing like bottled water, which when we think of how many bottles per week of water we use when we could use a water cooler and just keep refilling a bottle. Simple things, simple things.
Thank you very much. This is Judith Falloon-Reid, author of Aaah-Inspiring Antarctica. And the kids' book, what's the name of the kids' book?
The kids' book is Antarctica Adventures with a Jamaican on Ice.
With a Jamaican on Ice. This is the Jamaican on Ice. Thanks, Judith.
You're welcome.